Today is one of my favorite days. It's New Light Day. And today I have the BC22R from Fenix Lighting. This light is a very compact, very bright, very long-lasting battery. It comes with its own USB-C charger, as well as a battery that can be removed and swapped out. And it has some very interesting mounting options that we will get into. I did some lab tests to measure burn time as well as battery capacity, and we'll go through all the features that you will find on the Fenix Lighting BC22R. Let's get to it. Okay, so how do you use the BC22R from Fenix Lighting? This light features one sole button on top, and to turn on the bike light, you just press and hold that button, and it will turn on. It does have a few different brightness run modes, and if you want to cycle through those run modes, you just have to press the button again. So I'm at low at the moment. There's medium, there's high, and then there's a turbo mode. And then if you press and hold the button again, you'll turn off. Just like that. Now this light does have one more run mode, it's just the flashing. So if you turn on, then press and hold the light again, you'll enter that flashing run mode. All right, I'm gonna press and hold again to turn off. And that's how you use the Fenix BC22R. Pretty simple. So one of the cool things about the BC22R is it does have a anti-glare Facular cutoff line. So it shines away from you and down, but it doesn't shine as much straight up. So that's really cool if you don't want to blind other cyclists and motorists that you're sharing the road with. And this anti-glare Facular cutoff line is really easily illustrated by shining the light on a board. Top of the beam is kind of cut off. And this is also seen if you shine the beam parallel to a board. You'll see that the light's beam is just not directed as high as it is down low. Now the BC22R comes with a few mounting options included. The first is just a plain standard handlebar mount where you wrap this little buddy around your handlebar and tighten. And then you'll put the light onto the mount just like this. Easy stuff. What's cool about this mount is that it actually cradles the light from the sides rather than just on the bottom. And I feel that this has a way more secure feel to the light. So your light's not gonna be rattling around or God help you fly off because you hit a big bump. This light also comes with a GoPro compatible mount, and that comes to play if you want to mount your light underneath the bicycle computer. So I have here a bicycle handlebar with the GoPro compatible mount mounted underneath what you could use for your bicycle computer. And all you do again is you just slide the BC22R into the mount, just like so. But as you can see, the mount actually works to grab the light both from the bottom, like we saw in the standard mount, as well as from the top. And that's really cool. I think that's one of the features that makes this light stand out from its competitors. And to release the light from either the mounts, there is a tab on the back. Just pull the tab out and slide the light off. I personally was just a victim of some bike light thievery where I came out of the gym after I was done with my workout to find that my bike light had been stolen. And they stole it just by grabbing the bike light and ripping it off the mount. And all that was left was a broken mount. So I don't know about you, but I am going to get into the habit of taking my bike light wherever I go now. And with the BC22R, that's now really easy to do. The battery system of the BC22R is another thing I'm really jazzed about. It does come with a 3400 milliamp hour capacity battery, and you can charge that battery via the USB charging port that you find on the bottom of the light itself. And you can actually swap out that battery that's inside the BC22R with another battery. And let me show you how you do that. So the body of the bike light actually just screws off. So if you unscrew the bike light, you will reveal a 3400 milliamp 18650 battery. And that's really cool. I actually have a ton of these. So when I go on my commute or I'm taking a big ride, even a multi-day trip, I'll bring a couple of these batteries with me, so I always know that I'll have a working front bike light. So I ran a few tests to verify the claims that this is actually a 3400 milliamp battery. A lot of bike light manufacturers will say they have a high capacity battery and then just throw in some cheap 8650 battery or even a proprietary battery. So I did this in a few ways. So the first is I did a discharge test. So a battery discharge test will actually tell me how much actual capacity is in a battery. Now, the actual capacity of a battery is going to be a little lower than what's stated on the battery casing itself. There's various inefficiencies of drawing power out of a battery. If you ever notice a lot of your electronics will heat up, that's an example of the inefficiency of all our electronics. Then I did the same discharge test using batteries I already own that have a lower capacity rated on them. So what did I find? The battery that comes with the BC22R that's rated for 3,400 milliamp hours is a higher capacity than either a 3,000 milliamp hour battery I have or the 2,600 milliamp hour battery that I have and tested. That suggests to me that this is an actual bona fide 3,400 milliamp hour battery. I also did some runtime tests on the battery itself. According to Fenix, on high, the BC22R should run for approximately 1 hour, then stepping down to 20% for a total of 5.5 hours of runtime. And what did I find? The Fenix BC22R did, in fact, run for 1 hour exactly at 40% of its total output before stepping down to 20%. But instead of running for 5 hours and 30 minutes total, I found that the BC22R on high ran for 6 hours and 45 minutes, beating the manufacturer's claims. Fenix does say that the BC22R's 3,400 milliamp hour battery takes about 3 hours to charge. For funsies, I decided to check that out, and I actually was able to charge the battery to full capacity in only 2 hours and 20 minutes. Of course, your mileage may vary, but I found that interesting that I was able to, yet again, better the manufacturer's claims. So unfortunately, I don't have a way to test if the brightness of the light is what a manufacturer claims it to be. But in my testing, I didn't notice that this light was any brighter or dimmer than any other comparable light that I've tried. So low is going to be about 50 lumens for 41 hours. Medium will be 200 lumens with a runtime of 11 hours. High is going to be that 600 lumens for 5 hours and 30 minutes, although we tested a little higher. Turbo is 1400 lumens, but only for 2 hours and 20 minutes approximately. The BC22R does have a battery indicator, and it's located on the button of the light itself. And it'll light up either green for pretty charged, blinking green for 75 to 50% charged, red for 50% to 25% charged, and then a blinking red for under 25%. As far as weights goes, the light itself weighs about 106 grams. That 18650 battery weighs about 50 grams. Standard mount is 30 grams, but the GoPro compatible mount is only 9. This light is IP66 rated, which means it'll survive a tornado or hurricane, thunderstorm. Just don't take it scuba diving. All right, so what do I think personally about the Fenix Lighting BC22R? So this is an awesome light. I like how small it is. When a light is too big, it just gets bulky and clumsy, and it's just this big thing on my handlebars. This is nice and slim, so even if you run it on your standard mount, it's quite out of the way. I really do think the mounting is like next level. It's a huge upgrade from what Fenix Lighting has been used in their previous models, and I'm hoping to see this kind of mount in future models of their bike lights. I really love how the mount can be mounted upside down and the light itself is still right side up. That means that the button to operate the light is something I can see rather than something I have to like feel around and try to find. And I also like how the anti-glare Facular cutoff line is preserved, even if, we're running the light below the bicycle computer. I really, really, really like that the battery that this comes with is a very high capacity, very bog standard 18650 lithium battery. I also like that I can take it out. I can swap it with a fresh battery. I can charge it in one of my external battery chargers. And I can bring a few of these for an extra long trip and know that I always have a working front bike light. That is huge. I don't really prefer bike lights that have an internal battery that I can't remove, I can't inspect. If it somehow malfunctions, I'm SOL with the bike light and I have to buy a new bike light. This makes this bike light somewhat future-proof. I could in the future perhaps buy a better, more higher capacity 18650 battery and plunk it into this bike light, upgrade the bike light. I love, as somewhat of a nerd, I can take out the battery, inspect it, and see what type of battery it is, verify that it's actually a high quality battery. And this high quality battery is paired with a high quality light. This is a premium light. This is not a cheapy light. So this is a light that you're going to have to buy once and then never have to replace. And that's what makes it a great value. This light is going to cost a little bit more than some of its competitors, but those won't have all the features that this light has. So in terms of the various brightness runtimes of this light, low is really good if you want to extend the life of the battery and the runtime as much as possible. I'll use it on a quiet mountain road where there's not a lot of cars. It's late at night and I'm just like huffing puffing about uphill. So all I really need to do is see small patch 5 feet in front of me. Medium is more general use, as is high. I usually run the light on high when I'm in the city and there's a lot of action, lots of cars in my way and I want to be seen. Turbo isn't something I use all that often, but if there's a particularly busy intersection, I'll use turbo for just a couple seconds to get through that intersection. That gives me a little bit more peace of mind. And actually, surprisingly, the flashing is a setting I use perhaps most often because I find it's a very good setting to use as a daytime setting where I want that extra peace of mind that other road users can see me on the road and know where I am. So should you buy the BC22R front bike light from Fenix Lighting? Yeah. Yeah, you should. If you're a road bike rider that's looking for a bright light, if you're a commuter that's looking for a really bright light, being able to remove the light from its mount super quickly to like just jet to the store and come back is super clutch for commuters. I could see this bike light doing some light duty bike packing and definitely road touring just because the run times are so high, just because you can bring multiple batteries with you and always know that you'll have a working front bike light. The mount is super solid, so if you are going off-road, this light won't fly off. Having all those mounting options is really clutch when you're trying to keep the handlebar area of your bike nice and clean. And I really think that anti-glare cutoff line is legitimate. I actually love being able to run the light at a high setting on the bike path and not have to like worry that I'm blinding the dog walker I'm passing. It doesn't make for good neighbors. So thanks Fenix Lighting for letting me try out the BC22R front bike light. You can grab this light and many of its accessories over at Fenix Lighting. I'll add a link to the description of this video, as well as a link to my written review, which has more details from my lab testing, as well as other information. Thanks once again for tuning in and watching. And until I see you again, long may you range.